Today's video is a bit special because I'm going to present a game that is very close and dear to my heart, and will always have a special place for it in my memories. This is a game that helped me get past some really harsh moments in my life. It allowed me to cope with what I was going through at the time and escape the stress that was building up inside me. So, what game am I talking about? Well, Reason. Reason is a game developed by a small studio called Piranha Bytes and published by Deep Silver. If you never heard of the developer, they are known for creating immersive worlds full of soul, ambition, and bugs. Over the years, they released games that are very controversial amongst the fans, like Gothic 3 or Reason 2. The game at hand is the first in a series of 3 games and was released in 2009. So it's a bit older, but let's not get lost amongst the ocean of details and move along the threads of storytelling. So without further ado, let's see how it holds up and if it is any good. So the story starts by presenting the power that humankind achieved by banishing the gods with magic. As a direct consequence of abusing something that humans are ignorant of, ancient temples have arisen all across the island, and creatures never seen before run rampant all over the place. And as that wasn't enough, violent storms that break apart islands started to appear in the ocean. But for some unknown reason, they spared the island of Haranga. So how does this all connect with us the player? Well, we are a stowaway on a ship and somehow we are attacked by something. And we get shipwrecked, and as fated by fate, we survive the shipwreck and awake on a beach. So here we are in the middle of nowhere with nothing but our will to press forward, to meet the unknown, to face the dangers of the world, and to try and survive. We are nobody. We don't even have a name.
I'm so nameless.
We have no weapon or any idea where we are or what to do from now on. The world we are thrown in is vicious, dangerous. At first you are so weak, you are going to even be afraid of flowers.
Pick me up! Pick me up! I don't think.
Pick me up! Nope.
The only way to survive is to learn more about the island, and if the place is inhabited or not. After reaching your first local, you learn that the island is controlled by 3 factions. The Outlaws.
Have you discovered what the Inquisitors sought?
We're working on it.
The Inquisition, also known as the White Robes.
Defiance. That is what I have come to expect from the door.
And the Mages.
Plain speech is useful, but some may consider it rude.
I quickly realized that if I am to survive, I'll have to join one of the factions, so I can access better gear and the ability to learn different skills. They made such a great job of making each faction feel so appalling, so bad, you kinda don't want to join any of it. They made such a perfect creation of what people would be in real life once self-interest comes into play. That is amazing. In the beginning, I hoped that I would be able to join no one, but this is not the case. True to real life, huh? To give you an example, the Donsmen are a corrupted bunch that extort, lie, cheat, beat, and any other petty crime that you can think of.
Why? They're disgusting.
The Inquisition is a bunch of religious zealots that try to conscript you in their ranks and wash your brain by beating the out of you like this.
This doesn't look good, does this to the guards? This'll cause trouble.
And the Mages, they are the most brutal faction to join. They are the enemies of humankind. They dress in dresses, and they are guilty of the most atrocious thing that was ever done in the world. They read books. Yes, they are guilty of being boring and have too many menial tasks. And they expect you to be humble on top of that. Hell no.
You need a firm will and much patience to be chosen. As a mage, you would bear great responsibility.
So, after scouting around the island and learning more, I joined the Dawn's Men. And if you are wondering why, well, this is the reason.
What's the Don got to offer me?
Meat, beer, a job. He might even train you as a fighter. You got a sword, after all. Most they'll let you have up at the monastery is a staff. Just a big stick. That's not a real weapon.
So, how do you join a faction? Well, you start by doing menial tasks and be a slave for the people that think that are better than you. First, introduce yourself.
Hey,
Did I look like I wanted to talk to you?
After that, you do what you're asked to. Convince workers that useless amulets ward off ghosts.
I have something that will protect you from the ancients.
There is no protection.
That's not what the mages say. They've been searching for objects like this amulet, for a way to protect us all.
That's just a cheap necklace.
Have a closer look.
How can this protect me?
This is what people have been searching the ruins for. Answers. For protection.
And they found something?
Yes. Objects with the power of the ancients, objects like this amulet, will protect you. The mages guarantee you'll remain 100% spirit-free.
Beat some poor animals. Beat a guard. Beat one more. Beat another one. Make the big boss cry like a little bitch. Run a protection racket.
Give me your protection money.
Alright, I really don't want any nastiness.
And finally, talk to the head honcho, which says that all you did doesn't matter, and you actually need to go to Harbor Town to get accepted in the swamp camp. What? So, here we go again. Run to Harbor Town. Speak with the agents of free wealth distribution, also known as thieves. Do what you asked to do. Pam 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 pam. Then return with the good news.
Here. Is this the Don's amulet?
Hey, you found it! I have to say I doubted you, thought you were another collaborator. But not anymore.
When there are enough people that are willing to vouch for you, you'll be able to return to the Dawn and be invited in a gang full of cheats, liars, beaters, abusers, people that treat you like dirt. Aren't you proud of yourself for being part of such a great family? I know I am! The quests in the game vary. There are your fetch quest, beat quest, steal quest, sweep with a broom quest. Oh yeah, swing that thing, hell yeah. Swipe that dust off its feet, oh yeah. Get a bunch of guys under your command to beat another bunch of guys not under your command quest. And most of them can be completed in different ways. For example, there is a quest to reforge a sword for the local boss. After the blacksmith reforges the weapon, you can decide to keep it. And that is what is going to happen.
Give it back to me now. You don't want to scratch that.
Sorry. I think I'll keep this.
Ha!
10 seconds later.
Time for a little lesson.
Or you could simply give it back, steal it from him, and no one will be the wiser. Your choice.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it? Give it back to me now. You don't want to scratch that.
Thanks. It has a good balance. Here you go. Your work here's not too bad, but I've seen better.
You've seen better? And you're an expert, are you? You wouldn't know decent metalwork if someone shoved it up your ass and wiggled it around.
One thing that I really like about the game, probably my favorite part, is the world building. Everything is handcrafted and hand placed, and the people that inhabit the towns react to bad behavior. For example, you cannot simply walk in a house and take whatever you like. If you do, this happens.
You looking for something? Do you think I'm blind? Thieving bastard! You've no one to blame but yourself.
The humans actually follow a schedule. People get up in the morning to go to work. They actually walk around and have things to do. Visit the tavern. Blacksmith do blacksmith stuff. Other people saw wood or train to be a better fighter to defend the town. And when the evening hits, people gather around at local taverns to enjoy a nice drink with other town people and wash away the worries of the day. And I like how the town is built. It has a storehouse, houses for people to live in, a lighthouse, a butcher shop, and a brothel. Of course, this is an establishment that I never visited in my travels. Because in the words of Gar,
haven't I seen you hanging around the brothel?
What, me? No, not me. You wouldn't catch me there. I mean, real men don't pay for it, do they? Well...
And we all know what a handsome, what are those?
You're an
scenes?
explorer.
Oh my god!
Am I right?
God!
An adventurer.
Where did you get
Come
that? Oh
conquer
my
my
god!
continent's lover.
So we have diverse quests, nice world building, different factions, reactivity to our actions. What about exploration? There's actually a huge incentive to go and explore, because all the skills and training you can get in the game costs gold. And it costs a lot, especially in the beginning chapters, where gold is scarce and almost every NPC is trying to get some out of you. But there is a catch. You cannot explore willy-nilly from the beginning. No. Some areas house creatures that are way out of your league. And if you try to go there, they will rip you apart. Like this one. The devs did a great job of making progression feel real and fulfilling. At first you can only pick on rats, hungry wolves, maybe some young, oversized chickens, and as you grow in power, more of the island presents its secrets to you, and you can finally return and have your revenge. Oh, and before I forget, let's talk about how immersive looting from a container feels. You actually have a special animation for looting any container in the game. Like this one for chests, you actually kneel and open it. For cupboards, you open the doors. And for sarcophaguses, you slide the lid. So after a hard encounter with some beast, you are rewarded not only with loot, but with a checkmark on your immersion levels, which in my humble opinion is freaking cool. I really like the fact that you start as a nobody, simply trying to find a way to survive. And instead of being in search of great adventures, earning 10 million hero titles,
The savior of people everywhere.
and so on, you are an average Joe that made his way through mud to make something for himself. And instead of being the fated heroes of ballad, you are someone that decided to get involved and got dragged in the world of politics and problems, only to come out victorious, never letting the fire in his heart get extinguished.
Back in 2009, You nameless show-off, you think your island-hopping, titan-fighting adventure will make me waste even 1 hour of my time just because I love the Gothic series? In the present. No, god damn it. Look at how many years passed and I'm still playing. Hi everyone, it's me, Drakan. Sorry for intruding on Andino's passionate speech, but I can't let him get away with talking about this game, and that's because this game meant a lot for me too. And he also agreed to edit this video, so all the better. Work distribution aside, I can still remember how excited I was about this game after all the uncertainty that followed Gothic 3. When I finally got my hands on it, I was not disappointed. Piranha Bytes managed to keep most of the things I loved about their storytelling, like the very rough and tough characters that you meet that collectively create a very vibrant and lifelike ambience in the communities they inhabit. Some of them even have their own interesting stories, like the Inquisitor for example. But there are also other more insignificant but very interesting characters, like the Lighthouse Keeper, whose storyline is a cross-series one. Besides that, I love the old formula of story chapters that tells you a significant amount of things will change as you progress through the story. It kind of renews the excitement of playing the game, as you could barely wait to see what changed in the world. And
Okay, man, that's enough. I won't spend my life editing your rumble.
Fine, there's obviously a lot to say about this game's story, but I will finish by saying I loved it, and Piranha Bytes got it right here. Unlike some other iterations. But that's a story for another time. I will let Andinos continue.
The game is an action RPG set somewhere around in the past, where the main form of combat is done with swords, bows, and magic. Let's start by taking a look at the stats screen. We have 3 main stats. Strength, you do more melee damage, dexterity, you deal more range damage, and wisdom, which is a bit different than the rest. For example, you can become stronger if you go to a trainer and spend learning points and gold. The same for dexterity, but for wisdom, you cannot learn it. You must find ancient tomes and read them if you want that stat to increase. You cannot learn it at a trainer. Except stats, you have 5 main talent trees. Combat, crystal magic, crafting, rune magic, and thievery. Combat means you learn more about fighting with weapons, and every level gives you new moves. Magic is all about how proficient you are at dealing damage with spells. Crafting allows you to brew potions, forge weapons, mine gold and other minerals. Thievery lets you sneak around, pick lock chest that uses a minigame to do it, pickpocket people, which in this game is kinda funny. Once you learn the skill, you actually unlock new dialogue options in the game that reveal more about the people you are stealing from.
Your shoe is untied.
Oh yeah? Well, I can still kick you with it if you're trying to mess with me. Got it?
I think I get it.
I have noticed that I didn't touch the rune magic tab. And that is because I want to elaborate more about magic. The magic in the game is actually really well done and fun to use. You have your typical attack spells like Fireball,
Frostball, and Magic Bullet, also known as...
Besides attack magic, you have utility magic like Levitate.
The mage places himself in a floating state. He moves only with the power of his mind. As long as he concentrates, heights can also be overcome. However, this requires more concentration.
Unlock doors and chests.
Here, any mechanical lock can be opened by the will of the mage, regardless of how complicated they are.
Transform in a snail.
The Nautilus spell produces a shell of energy that rolls around the mage casting it. The mage transforms, shrinking so they may enter small spaces. That could come in handy.
Steal from afar.
Telekinesis. The power of thought can move matter, allowing a mage to move objects towards them from a great distance. Switches and levers which are far away can also be activated. That's something to know.
Create a hot dancer so you can sneak behind guards and steal treasure. Or make people laugh and forget you stole from them.
You should get some training.
All in all, Magic is really fun to play around with, and lets you reach places you couldn't otherwise. The developers allow in creative ways to explore the world. The way you learn these different skills and stats is by first going out in the world, explore all over, while you fight different enemies and gain experience. The experience you gain is actually based on how powerful the different enemies are. After gaining enough experience, you will level up, and each level up gives you 10 learning points. After all this, you need to go and find different trainers scattered around the island. For example, if you want to learn to be stronger, you go to a strength trainer. If you want to learn to fight better with swords, you go to a sword trainer. If you want to know how to brew potions, you go to an alchemy trainer, etc. For me, this is something I really enjoy, because it adds a lot of immersion and makes the world feel alive, and actually make me feel like my character learned something and not just magically obtained a new skill. The fighting system in the game is actually quite good, dynamic, engaging, and fun, but I must say that it's not very polished. You need to get used to some of the melee systems, especially the way it auto-locks onto enemies, and you need to deal with some junky mechanics when fighting multiple enemies. But if you are willing to deal with some of its problems, you'll get rewarded. The system focusing on skill above all else. So at first, your character actually sucks and is very limited in what you can do. You have your basic dodge, and you can link up to 3 attacks. The first strike deals little damage, the second one does increased damage, and the last strike deals massive damage. As you grow stronger, you learn more skills like parry, lateral blows, will to hand the swords with one hand, and link as many strikes as you like, becoming an unstoppable force. The game offers a great diversity of enemies to fight, and each one of them feel unique, forcing you to approach combat in different ways, based on the enemy, and all of them have very interesting design about them. I actually had a good laugh at one NPC trying to describe to me what a rotworm is. I felt like the developers were poking fun at themselves for not knowing how to describe what they created.
What are rotworms?
They can't really be described. Indescribable they are. They're like giant, rotting worms. You can ask Ricardo in the camp.
One part of the game they did an incredible job on was the dungeon crawling part. Later in the game, you need to go and explore some ruins, and you'll find yourself inside a dungeon. They created a great atmosphere and diverse gameplay inside this dungeon. It was a pleasure for me to go torch in hand, facing enemies left and right, front and back, letting my torch fall down, casting shadows of me and my enemies fighting on the walls, while the clash of metal and claws filled a void of silence. There are a lot of traps to avoid, puzzles to figure out, and some need quite a bit of thinking outside of the box, like this one when you have to hit a winch to lower a drawbridge. It wasn't easy to figure it out how to reach the place from where to shoot. You have levers to find and pull, flying over gaps to reach unreachable platforms, transforming into snails to crawl through tight spots and reach secret places, and most importantly, facing lots of menacing enemies. It was a real pleasure to conquer such a place, especially because it reminded me of my favorite dungeon crawling game, Arx Fatalis. They might not have reached the same level of feel and atmosphere, but they were certainly really close. And with dungeons comes loot. There are plenty of items to be had in this game, plenty of weapons, plenty of armors, which are actually tied to factions. You'll have different armors based on what faction you join. You have jewelry, shields, plants, cigars, pens, etc. So if you were worried that you'll not have enough loot to find, you can rest easy, there is more than enough. The gameplay it offers is dynamic and fun. You are free to choose how to approach different situations, how to deal with enemies, how to explore the island you are stuck on, and most importantly, it offers a great progression curve. You start with nothing, you reach something, you gain more than something, you reach a high status, and in the end, you reach the pinnacle of power. I really like that there is no hand holding, the game trusting its players to make their own choices, even if those choices may lead to a place where you are out of your league. The progression of power and character growth, the way they approach consequences and choice, how brutal the beginning of the game is, how they build the world to be as organic as possible, thinking about how the people in it live, feed, work, creating a virtual real town, and how much the game trusts its players to make their own destiny inside the game. Let's address the elephant in the room. The character models for humans are ugly. There is no beating around the bush, just look at this face that only a mother could love. While the faces of humans came out of a horror show, I cannot say the same for the creature models. Some of them are quite cool, like the gnome design, or the thunder lizard one. Just look how cool it is. The environment, when seen as a whole, is quite beautiful and a pleasure for the eyes to look at. This place looks like something that came out straight of a fairy tale. A house lost in the deep trails of a forest, forgotten by time and people. Quite nice if I say so myself. But that being said, when you start looking at things individually, you'll notice that the textures need some work and the illusion of beauty dissipates fast. Overall, the environment is quite beautiful and a pleasure to explore the different places the developers created for us. While the graphics aren't offering us eye-blowing visuals that create an orgasmic feel in the brain when looking at them, they are quite charming, the developers focusing more on the whole picture, making me use this expression, pretty as a painting. The world is full of different people with different personalities, but there is a trait that I found to be common on the island, and that is self-interest. Most people here are only looking out for themselves and only start doing something when they can gain an advantage or monetary gain. They are quite crude and cruel. Of course, there are exceptions and you can find people that have empathy and try to do things for others, but they are so few and far between that they get lost in the sea of thieves, killers, and abusers. The main players in the power struggle of the island are Inquisitor Mendoza and the Dawn. The Inquisitor is a driven man, not bending once from his objective or making any changes on how to approach things, believing strongly that he can save the whole humanity from the dangers that it faces. At first, he comes as a calculated man, cold in some instances, but fair, a person who puts others ahead of himself. But as you go on, you realize that his ways might not be the best, losing his ways and beliefs in the face of grabbing the big prize of saving humanity. And in most cases, that means sacrificing humanity and doing quite the opposite thing of what he's saying that he will do. I will let my friend the Druid give some commentary about his views on the Inquisitor.
Then I will take the disc to the Inquisitor.
Do that. But if you need a level ahead than the Inquisitor... Inquisitor! How can a man with such a closed mind be called inquisitive? It is a crime against language. Keep a level head. Speak to me before you make a decision with him. I promise you an open mind and brilliant insight. Good luck.
The Dawn, the dude that pretends that all his actions and decisions are for the good of its people. This dude acts only in self-interest. He is a thief and he is abusing his position of power to get anything he wants. His gang is a gang full of killers and bullies. He tries to come off as a charismatic leader that cares for his people, and only opposing the white robes because they are a tyrannical bunch that brainwash into servitude the ones that oppose them. I will let the main character after a good perspective of the kind of leader the Don is.
So, are the rumours true? Harbour Town is free again?
Yes, it belongs to us now.
The Don will be happy. Let's hope that means gold for the rest of us, yeah?
It's only control of the town that's changed.
Yeah, I heard there's trouble at the temple ruins and the monastery, but the Don will sort it out. You'll see.
Looks to me like I'm sorting things out, not the Don.
There are a lot more characters than this, like Patty, which builds quite an interesting relationship with our main character. I don't want to spoil much, so I'll leave you in the company of this conversation.
It could be dangerous.
If I was a China doll, I wouldn't be here, would I?
Well, okay then. But don't blame me if you get eaten by lizards.
Oh, and here was me thinking it was just you that found me tasty.
Like I said earlier, there are a lot more characters in the game, but I will let you search for them to make your own ideas and perspectives on the inhabitants of the island. Music score in the game is incredible, one of the best out there. The composer for the game is Kai Rosenkrantz. Sorry if I butchered the name. And he is a genius when it comes to creating a great atmosphere by using music. I found myself often exploring the island for no reason, just to hear the music accompanying my lonely footsteps. The sound effects in the game are good. They serve the purpose of creating atmosphere and a believable world, like people working on an anvil or sawing wood, drinking, dabbling in alchemy, etc. The voice acting in the game is interesting. Some characters are simply brilliant voiced, and some not that much. But I never encountered anything that made my ears bleed. So overall, I'll give it a passing grade, so to speak. It's quite obvious the level of work they put into sound, especially music and sound effects. They really try to create a great atmosphere and use the sound as a tool to immerse us, the players, into the world. The atmosphere is great, the music, the graphics, the sound, and the world building is so good. I don't know why, but every time I come back to the game, all these things blend together and give me the feeling of welcome back home. I have been expecting you. Just look at this moment, rays shining through trees, the music enchanting your ears, the fire from your torch, the sound of your footsteps. They feel so good and relaxing. Sometimes I just like to walk around doing nothing and let my eyes and ears drown in the great atmosphere the developers created.